So, welcome back again. In a couple of weeks, and it's time for another sprint zone. Fortunately, today there's disappointment. I only captured half of it, so that's why it took me a little while to do this because I wasn't all that motivated to just get half of whatever. That being said, we've got something different today. Both Matthew and Scott have offered up their power numbers, and I've added a third row on the bottom for 30-second average power, which I found quite fascinating. So I figured it was worth the real estate. So you have my power on the far left, you've got Matthew's power in the middle, and you've got Scott's power on the far right. And you can tell that Matthew is clearly up front. Look at the numbers put out by Beast at the bottom column. So he's putting out an average for the last 30 seconds of like 270 some watts. My average power for the last has been 108, and Scott's has been 120 something. So you can see that Scott's further up the road than I am. And this is just an illustration of how much you actually save in the draft. It's just amazing. And for you people that aren't like into telemetry and power numbers or whatever, maybe this will motivate people to get a power meter or think more about it or think more about having the advantage of sitting in and what it actually does for you. I mean, look at those numbers. It's just amazing. I guess that was Scott actually behind me, so maybe I'm just a better draft. But what can we say? So we're heading up the road here. I've been rambling on for a while, and we're almost to the turn here. It's a pretty good group. I must say, some strong men. I think from the previous weeks where there was an issue with those violating the rules of engagement, I think everyone's been properly admonished. See Mr. Mellinger there. See Greg, a bunch of other people looking to go hit this one. So at this point in the ride, people are starting to go up the road, and someone needs to adjust some clothing. I don't know if it was Justin or somebody, but I figured I would take this opportunity to stop and make certain that, in fact, that the camera was in like on, and it was. I was pretty happy. I don't know like why it just stopped in the middle of this. I'm guessing it's because the file system on the SD card was like fragmented or something. And I wiped the card, but I didn't format it. So maybe that was my bad. Regardless, that's what's going on. So now up the road. The group's pausing more or less, but they're not going to be too patient because this is the sprint zone. So we want to get back up to them as quickly as possible. You can see the numbers put out by Matthew up front. You know, when he's putting out 60, 70 watts as an average for the last 30 seconds, you know the game is not on yet. Looking rearward here, 21 miles an hour, and there wasn't a ton of wind today. So the speeds that people are going to be doing, they've actually earned at this point. Catching up to the group, and you can see it took me what average of 190 watts for that period of time. Scott 150 something. He must already be up there someplace, or he might have been chasing. Interesting. I'm not certain where he is just yet. Got Gabe in front of me. See Isla in the fuchsia. Looks like John up there with his ever kit on in the black there. As we get into formation and things are starting to hot up, and we look, we know who's at the front here. We can see that instantaneous power by Matthew over 400 watts, average 30-second power 380 watts, and it is not decreasing here. Getting into the flats, even I've had 195 for a while, and this is going to be a pretty pedestrian pace. See Rick Lutz, who had finally come back, hadn't been with us for a while, suspecting it's a little bit of PTSD, which is understandable. You know, when you think about it, it was like I know Ilka, Curtis, Rick caught up in that crash of probably over a year ago. And it takes a little while to get back mentally, both to convince your spouses that, you know, it's okay for you to be all beat up, bruised, and battered and unable to like do the family vacation or earn a living. that it's worth it. But clearly, they're back, maybe a little cautious, but I'm happy to see them. And happy to say that there haven't been any incidents since then. Got Wolfgang there, a newly crowned member of the group and strongman. Got his pump hanging out there. I haven't had a chance to critique any of his clothing to see if, in fact, he wears the proper garb. But I haven't had a chance to complain about anybody because most people have, they're wearing good stuff. So on this day, I believe it's like JC and Matthew up at the front doing the lion's share of the work, and you can see it's got to be Matthew. I mean, 340 some watts, and I'm only putting out like 130 something. Yeah, it's easy street back here, and this is what I was thinking when I was doing this. I was a bit tired from like doing a Zwift ride or something the day before. I think on Zwift it was almost like 180 or 190 watts for 40 or 60 minutes for me, and that took its toll. So I wanted to like, okay, the video won't be as nice because I'm not going to be as front because I can't see the action, but at least I'll be there. And look at my average watts, 120, 130 for the last 30 seconds. This is basically just a walk in the park, and I'm embarrassed to be back here and have like those kinds of weak numbers on the average. Yeah. So you really know like what's going on there. So Curtis making a strong move up the left-hand side. A few weeks ago, he was caught boxed in. You could see the frustration on his arm, his left arm when it just rose in that WTF way, like I can't get out and things are happening. Got Justin sitting in back there. Maybe someday I'll have to get his numbers. At this point, people that are sitting in, life is easy. And this is one of these days where basically everybody sat on Matthew. And looking at the kind of power he's putting out, I could not have gone up on a good day to contribute. The only people in this group today that I think could contribute and did contribute were Todd Mellinger and JC, and of course Matthew himself. There may have been others up there, but I haven't seen it. And from way back here, basically, I can't see diddly squat. And you know, at the time when I was like sitting in, all I'm thinking is, "Oh, this is easy. Oh, this is easy. I'm here. Oh, this is easy." And I really wish like I had the rest of the footage here, but it's pretty much a repeat of what we see here. No moves, nobody does anything, and at the end there was a minor sprint. I was in maybe top 10 or something like that, but pretty much everybody was there, which is not that exciting. But even if it's not that exciting, I'll find something to ramble on about. But looking at the group, this is a nicely formed group here. Nice double pace line. People are reasonably tight. They're all sitting on the one man up front. You have occasional digression. I think is that Kent Winters over there to the right a little bit, just kind of sitting out in the wind. Might be. He must have a lot of strength because if he doesn't, or maybe because it's just that easy where I am, just fine sitting out there like in the wind. But if he is, he's got to be pushing some good wattage. And you can see what Matthew's wattage is dropping down 300. It could be that like JC or somebody had taken over for a little bit. This video is going to end as soon as we get to this little bridge here, which I'm kind of disappointed about, but it is what it is. Regardless, a good time was had by all. Until next time, and I format the video card.